It's Miss Meg from Westchester Public Library, and I'm here with another of our summer STEAM programs for you. And as you can see, I'm out in the woods today. Well, not really, but we're going to be doing some exploring outdoors. So if you like creepy crawly things, or even if you don't like creepy crawly things, we're going to have a lot of fun together today. So we always start with our trivia questions, and our topic today is invertebrates or invertebrates. You could say it either way. I wonder if you know what an invertebrate is. Well, guess what? Our very first trivia question is going to find out. This is a true or false question. Invertebrates are animals that do not have a backbone. Do you think that's true or false? It is true, that's right. So invertebrates are animals that don't have backbones, like insects and worms. All right, let me ask you another question. Oh, this one is good. The skeleton of an insect is called the exoskeleton. Where is it located? Do you know what an exoskeleton is on an insect? The exoskeleton is on the outside of the insect. It's the hard shell that protects all of the other parts of the insect. All right, that's it for our trivia questions. And now, so that we can share our story together, let's get rid of this background. And here's our book for today. This is called What About Worms? And this book is by Ryan T. Higgins. It's really funny. And look, you see who that is on the cover? It's Elephant and Piggy. We're going to see them on the inside too. But this book isn't by Mo Willems. It's by this guy, Ryan T. Higgins. Gerald? Yes, Piggy? I have a new book, but I cannot make heads or tails of it. Why not? Because it is about worms. Ha ha, get the joke? Can't tell the head from the tail? It is also about time to get reading, says Elephant. I am a tiger. I am big. I am brave. And I am not afraid of anything. Except worms. Worms are slimy. Worms like to wiggle. And you cannot tell their tops from their bottoms. Oh, look, flowers. I love flowers. Sniff, sniff, sniff. Wait. Flowers grow in dirt. Worms love dirt. And this pot is full of, well, dirt. What if there are worms in this pot? Oh, phew, there are no worms. What happened? He broke the pot. Sigh. I did break the flower pot. Oh, look, an apple. I love apples. Do you see something else hiding in that tree? Who's that? You know who that is, the pigeon. Crunch. Oh. Uh-oh. No. What about worms? Worms love apples. What if there are worms in my apple? Splat. Phew. There are no worms in my apple. But now I have no flowers and no apple. Sigh. Worms ruin everything. Thanks a lot, worms. Look out. It's worms. He sees a worm. Oh, it is not worms. It is a book. You can learn so much from a book. I love books. Oh no. Nope. What if it is a book about? What's he gonna say? Now, who are all of these? Was that a tiger? I am afraid of tigers. Me too. Tigers are furry. Tigers like to walk. And you can't tell their tops from their bottoms. Oh, look! The tiger left some dirt. Worms love dirt. Oh, look! The tiger left an apple. Worms love apples. Munch, munch, munch. Oh, look! The tiger left a book. Worms love books. And it is a book about worms. Worms love worms. Oh no, this is not a book about worms. It is a book about, well, tigers. Should we read it? I don't know. We're afraid of tigers. Yes, we are. We need to get to the bottom of this, or the top. It does not matter. But we love books. We do. Let's try to read it. Oh, wow. I did not know tigers are so big. We learned so much, and now worms love tigers. That nice tiger left us dirt, an apple, and a book. Let's give that nice tiger a nice thank you worm hug. Worm hug, worm hug, worm hug, worm hug, worm hug, worm hug. Did you like that story? I did. That book's surprising tale made for a surprising tale. I love a book that worms its way into your heart. Yeah. And that is the end. What about worms? So my question for you is, are you scared of worms? Well, there's nothing to be scared of. In fact, I have always really liked worms, and I'm always really happy when I find them in my garden when I'm digging. You know why? Worms are really good for gardens because worms eat dirt which makes tunnels. And when they make tunnels, it makes places that the rain can soak in to the dirt. And the other things worms do that's really cool is they poop. That's right, they poop right in your garden. And that worm poop, which are called castings, is really, really good for your garden soil to help your plants to grow. So if you find lots of worms in your garden, you're very, very lucky. And I am going to share my screen with you now, and we are going to see how I went on a worm hunt. So hold on just a moment here. And let's go here, and let's go here. Nope. Let's go here. There we go. This is all about my worm hunt. So these are things I had for my hunt. I had a glass jar for putting my worms in. I had a piece of wood that I hammered into the ground. A brick, you're going to see how I use that in just a minute. A bucket with some dirt in it. Some newspaper. And a shovel. Make sure you ask an adult before you take any of these things outside to use them. All right, this is a technique called worm fiddling. See that piece of wood I put in the ground? I'm rubbing the brick on the top of it, and all that noise drives the worms crazy, the vibrations in the soil. So they didn't like it at all, and they started coming up out of the soil. There they are. I got about 4 worms that way, just by rubbing that brick on the stick. Now here was my experiment. I took the worms and I put them into my bucket of dirt. And I wanted to see how long it would take for those worms to burrow their way down into the dirt. So here you can see them on the top, and then a little while later, they were gone. Except there's one right over here still going down into the soil, but you'll be able to see him on the side of my container. Right there. See him? That worm burrowed right down into the soil and made a nice little tunnel. Then I wanted to find a bigger worm so I could really examine it. So I found this nice, big, juicy worm by digging a hole. And I wanted to see if I could see its mouth. See if you can see it. It kind of opened it there. Did you see it open? Maybe it'll do it again. Yep, there it is. Worms don't have any eyes, but they have mouths. If you find any worms, we want you to share them with us on our social media. So that was the end of my bug hunt. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a minute. And actually, I'm going to show you one more thing. Sorry about that. I'm going to share my screen again because I wanted to show you. Let's see. Oh, don't need that anymore. I had a really nice picture of a worm here. There it is. And it shows all of the different parts of a worm. So you can see here is the worm's head, and we saw that little tiny mouth that opens and eats the dirt. And you can see that the worm is made out of all of these little teeny tiny segments or sections of the worm. And then, of course, the tail end that's where the worm poop comes out. And you're going to see in a video that I'm about to share with you how worms move. So this is kind of a neat video I found on YouTube, and I want to share it with you. Here we go.
First of all, even though you often find earthworms outside where you find insects like ants and beetles, earthworms aren't insects. Can you spot the differences? Remember what makes an insect an insect? 6 legs, 3 main body parts, and a hard exoskeleton. Our earthworm doesn't match that at all. Earthworms have smooth skin and a body made up of many small segments. It kind of looks like they're covered in a lot of little rings. And each segment has small hairs that are almost too tiny to see. And even though they're long and skinny like snakes, they're not snakes. Snakes have a skeleton, and earthworms don't. But they do have strong muscles. In order to move, the earthworm squeezes its muscles together, which makes its body thinner and longer. Then the earthworm uses those little hairs on its body to hold onto the soil around it and pull itself forward. Have you ever seen a bird trying to pull?
All right, so that is how the worm moves. And when I caught that great big worm, I tried to feel on the underside to see if I could feel any of those little tiny hairs that they use to help them move along, but I really couldn't feel them. And I did not have a magnifying glass. If I had a magnifying glass, I probably would have been able to see them. And I also would have been able to get a much better look at that worm's mouth opening and closing. All right, here's another question for you. Why do you think you always see so many worms out on your driveway or the sidewalk after it rains? Well, I found 2 different explanations for why that would be. The first one said that when it's wet, that gives the worms an opportunity to move to another location because worms' skin has to stay moist at all times. It has to stay wet. So when it's dry, it has to stay underground where the soil is still moist. But when it's wet, then it can come up from the soil and wiggle its way to a new home. And the other reason that I read is that if there's too much rain, if there's too much water, the worms can actually drown in their tunnels. So they need to come up in order to not drown. So when my daughter was little, one of her favorite things to do was to go outside after a rainstorm and look for all of the worms and then put them safely in the grass instead of having them stay on the sidewalk or on the driveway where they could be stepped on or run over. So if we get a big rainstorm, you might want to head out and see what you can find. All right. I'm going to share one more website with you, and all of these links will be in our show notes. So this is the University of Illinois Extension, and this has a whole lot of information about worms. This page is facts about worms. It says, in an acre of land, there can be more than 1 million earthworms. And how about this one? The largest earthworm ever found was in South Africa and measured 22 feet from its nose to the tip of its tail. 22 feet. That is a really big worm. On this web page, you can also see there's a whole section about worms, not just the worm facts, and it's called The Adventures of Herman, the autobiography of Squirmin' Herman the Worm. It has his history, family tree, anatomy, and much, much more. So you can read all about worms on this website. All right, and I have one very last fun thing to share with you. And that's not on my screen. It's something that I made, and you can make it too. I'm also going to put the instructions in the show notes. I made worms. Want to see them? Look at all the worms. I made them out of Jell-O. So let me see if I can pick one up. Ooh, whoops. Look at that wiggly worm. Mmm, delicious. So you can make wiggly Jell-O worms and really gross out your friends by having them think that you're eating a worm. So thank you very much for coming to STEAM Saturday. Remember, if you find a worm outside or any kind of insect, please share your pictures with us on our social media, on Facebook and Instagram, or if you make Jell-O worms, you can share those with us too. Thank you so much, and I hope that we'll see you again next time on Fun with STEAM from West Chester Public Library. Bye.